And we're back. Yes.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. I believe there's this technical problem a little bit with,
Yeah,
you
no
know,
worries.
just whenever you do live, you have a lot of things happening peripherally. So that's the excuse.
Yeah, so we were
Yes.
talking about sleep and sleep deprivation. It's a reality. I mean, I think even people who don't work ER, of course, there's lots of different kinds of shift workers. And so we're
Right.
definitely at risk for lots of medical problems and other things. And we'll probably are shaving off some years of our lives
Hmm.
from working nights. So,
Right.
yeah, it's a real thing. And then unfortunately, there's really no plan in place,
Hmm.
from in medical industry at least. I don't know what happens in other industries, but I definitely see in healthcare there are
Hmm.
nurses who are working, 30 years they're working night shifts, and that's and they kind of just do consistently night shifts. Like the physicians will work days and nights, and I don't
Hmm.
know if that's better or worse, but it's
Hmm.
definitely a challenge.
I see.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for sharing that, and folks can definitely relate, and we'll do our best to do better so we can be around for our kids and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing I heard from somebody recently that I think is a really good quote is, we say we would die for our children,
Hmm.
but do we say that we would stay healthy for our children? Like I think
Hmm.
that's almost more important, right? Because
Right.
it's not just about living for them, but also being healthy for them, because you don't want to be, in a state where they have to take care of you or they're burdened by you. So all of that is important. Yeah, we
Right.
have to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. And what you say though, to add further to it, is a difficult route to take. I'm saying that in a sense that work will suffer. A lot of things will suffer whenever you're prioritizing family. And
Mhm.
I'm experiencing this firsthand, because when you're trying to do like better in terms of sleeping or spending time with them and all these
Mhm.
things, a lot of other things, this balancing thing, I know is a continuous balance, as you mentioned. Other things will definitely suffer, but I'm glad that I get to prioritize family going forward. And I know it's not easy, but we have to really make that effort.
Yeah, I think one thing I was actually trying to recording for myself, and I came across an idea that really, why are we doing all of this, right? Like
Hmm.
ultimately, whether we're going into real estate investing, or we've got a business, or we've got a profession, like
Hmm.
ultimately underneath all that is we want to be happy,
Hmm.
right? We're all
Right.
really seeking happiness.
Right.
You can label that as more money or more time freedom or more other things, but underneath it all, the real word, the crux of it all is we want to be happy.
Hmm.
So you have to look at, is what you're doing making you happy, and so being with your family is really providing that happiness, then yeah, those other things can suffer, and it's okay. Like it's not the end of the world, because ultimately your goal is to be happy. And
Okay.
if you're happy, then hey, that's great. Like you don't need to write a book or
Hmm.
climb
Right.
a
Right.
mountain or whatever. Like it's
Hmm.
whatever makes it worthwhile for you. And sometimes,
Amazing.
yeah, being with those kids and watching them grow, it's like the best thing in the world. I think that's one of the best things that's happened to me, really, is to have my children. And I still, they actually still live at home now. They went to
Hmm.
college and then they came back.
There you go. There you go.
So we're all
Yes.
together again. But it's really
Amazing.
wonderful because now they're adults, and
Hmm.
it's sort of a different way of being together, but they're still very much like children in a lot of ways, but they are also bigger in adults, and that we have more mature conversations. We can leave each other more easily and go places
Hmm.
and do things. So there's
Right.
a lot more freedom in that kind of relationship. So
Hmm.
I really enjoy it. I think it's wonderful that I have this time with them at home again.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
how about in terms of the financial education a little bit? Because
Yeah.
that's what you're working on right now. How do
Mhm.
you What do you think families should do in terms of educating their kids to know better about finances?
Yeah, I think it's so tough because we're so inclined to spoil our children. Even when we're trying not to, we're spoiling them. I mean, like they live
Hmm.
in America in a nice house with air conditioning.
Right.
You're
Right.
already like ahead of so much of the world. And that's one
Hmm.
thing I try to remind them. It's like you've been given a privilege to, have so much in your life, and you should apply yourself. And so I do tease them. I don't know if I really tease them. They believe it. I tell them,
Hmm.
this house is my house.
Hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to live here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes when they're being really flaky and not really getting the message that they have to apply themselves or go to work or things like that, like I try to bring it to home to them by
Mm-hmm.
telling them, like, I own your car and I own your phone and I
Mm-hmm. Right.
the house. Like, you don't have anything. You think you have everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that's a horrible, like, probably thing to do to your kids, but it's just a way of like illustrating, like, hey,
Yeah.
these things,
Mm-hmm.
you're so privileged. You don't really get,
Mm-hmm.
what the effort is behind all that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
as they're older, they are understanding that. I thought I did something really wise is when they were 16, I opened bank accounts for them,
Mm-hmm.
and so that they would like log on and check their bank account, understand how to use the banking app and things. Of course, they did none of that. Like,
Mm-hmm. Right.
their bank accounts would be negative, and I'd get
Mm-hmm.
alerts saying, "Hey, your
Mm-hmm.
so and so's account is
Mm-hmm.
low." And
Right.
it's yeah, they're just not. I think some kids are very savvy and they're inclined that way.
Right.
My kids were really not, so that's why I have to sort of hammer it home with like threats of poverty.
Did you try? Did you try taking that? Like me and my wife are noticing whenever we have them outside of the country, some other places where
Mm,
where the ancestors are from. Like I'm an immigrant myself, so I have some families as well outside the country. So when
mhm.
people experience that, they remember a little bit what time it is in terms of life and everything else.
Yeah, I haven't been able to do that too much. I mean, we did go to India. I think
Hmm.
been to India with them like maybe like a decade ago now. It's been a long
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's tough. I think you can find that even in the United States. Like if you look,
Absolutely.
they're pretty good kids, honestly. Like they're
Mm.
not that bad for the things they have. They're very conscientious. They actually volunteer and they go to the pantries, and they were kind of into that
Nice.
anyway, like because of
Amazing.
school. School kind of made them do it, so they
Right.
are aware of some things.
Amazing.
But obviously it's still a very contrived experience, right? It's not,
Hmm.
they still get to go back home in their car and
Hmm.
forget about it all. So it's not that pressing. But
Hmm.
now that they're both in the workforce,
Right.
and they
Hmm.
bring home a paycheck that they don't
Right.
like, they're
Hmm.
really like, wow,
I need to do something.
this is
Yes.
hard. Like, I
Yeah.
worked all these hours and that's all I
Hmm.
got. Yeah. So
Right.
I think it's happening. They're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And also remind them, and I try to remind myself, like age is just a number, and they're very young. And no matter how
Mm,
old they think they are, they should still remember they're still young. They can do anything. They can always change career.
mm.
Like I remember like my dad. Like God rest his soul, he was doing his PhD in his 40s, late 40s.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's I'm picturing myself now trying to go to school now to do something else. This is tasking, but is doable, my friend. So tell them, if you're not happy and you like something, go with whatever you like, go for it. You can do better. So encourage them. Yes.
Yeah, they're that's another important thing that I think people don't get. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
especially my kids, they felt like they had to know ahead of time and like,
Mm-hmm.
make a decision and stick with
Mm-hmm.
it. And I tried to explain the same thing to them. I said, there's so many stories of,
Mm-hmm.
whether you look at celebrities or everyday people. Like, I even have friends of my own that have, changed careers like after their
Mm-hmm.
40s even. Like, I
Right.
know a good friend of mine, she was in IT and then she went to medical school in her 40s. Like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
like that's,
Yeah.
a huge undertaking. And so, but people do it because that's what they want to do. And I think that's so important to just, follow your heart and,
Mm-hmm.
express yourself. And we all get bored with what we do. It doesn't
Mm.
matter. It doesn't mean that it was a bad career. IT is a great
Right.
career.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure she was happy she chose that and did that for
Right.
however many years. And
Right.
sometimes, you just need a change. You want to do something different. So,
Want real results that last? Stop wasting time on quick fixes. A no-fat approach to sustainable fitness, radiant health, and mental well-being is your roadmap to lasting transformation. Learn how to fuel your body, move with joy, and cultivate mental strength, all without the restrictive rules. Start your journey to sustainable success. Download your guide today.
it's great to
Absolutely.
challenge yourself and go do that.
Amazing. So speaking about challenges, what is the biggest challenge that you face in your career or in your entrepreneur journey, and you overcame it and you're like, oh my goodness, how did that happen?
Wow. Yeah, so many things, so many
Right.
things. The entrepreneurial journey is still in its infancy, really. So it's
Right.
just and there's so many things that I'm constantly learning, and I think the biggest thing is I think finding the right relationships, whether that's mentors or whether
Mm-hmm.
that's an assistant or
Mm-hmm.
other colleagues, like building that network. and
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you don't know, like you might be meeting people and you think it's a good fit, but then it turns out not to be a good fit. So it's a lot of trial and error
Mm-hmm.
of continuing to network and meet people. And I just hired an executive assistant, and that's been
Mm-hmm.
like so helpful. Like I was doing everything by myself.
Right.
Well, because I didn't know, I tried to hire people before, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't working out. Like, so I would
Right.
hire and fire people like
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And then I finally, like, now I think I have somebody who's just, really on the right wavelength. And
Amazing.
it's been very helpful. So yeah, I'm hoping, that takes off some of the burden and I can, grow the business more because I have that help.
Amazing. Yeah, they say it's the system. You have to have the established system for
Mm.
things to scale or even do better. I'm on the same page in terms of, trying to find the right, folks to work with, or the right companies to work with. So I'm happy that you found somebody, and this is amazing, because a lot of
Yeah.
times you might find people and you regret.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, sometimes it doesn't work, and it's no fault of their own. I mean, sometimes just your values or your philosophies don't align, and
absolutely.
it's just not a good fit, and that
Hmm.
happens. So you have to just keep rolling with it and and I think the key is to really keep adjusting. Again, it's like we were talking about riding a bike, like
Right.
it's an ongoing balance. And
Right.
even I think whether it's your whole life that you're balancing or the
Right.
business or
Hmm.
the relationships with your family members,
Right.
it's a dynamic process. It's not a static, one size fits all and it's the same thing we do every day. It's like you
Right.
have to keep adjusting to new circumstances. So that's what
Amazing.
I'm, hoping to keep doing.
That's it. That's it. Now let's talk about the next generation. We don't want to, you know, we don't want to bombard them with a lot of things this time. Now we just take it easy. How do we advise the good stuff in terms of them wanting to pursue medicine or entrepreneurship, or real estate and such? What's the, what's your advice on that?
My personal advice is really find your core value,
Hmm.
like what it is that really makes you come alive, and
Hmm.
I think it is different for different people. I think for me personally, service is a big core value that really resonates with me. So whatever I do, I want to be adding value to
Hmm.
someone or providing a service.
Hmm.
That's probably why I did medicine, and that's
Hmm.
probably kind of what I'm doing now. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
even though the business is investing in real estate, really my company, the Doctor Investor, is a service to physicians.
Hmm.
I want to be providing education, resources, a network, whatever that
Hmm.
helps that physician community grow and reach their financial goals, whatever that is. It may not be real estate, and that's great. Like, let's see what
Hmm.
else fits you. Let's see what else we have in our, menu of options to
Right.
suggest. And
Hmm.
or is there somebody else that you could talk to? Like, hey, I know this person who's really good with tax law. Maybe you should talk to them. Like, depending on what their needs are, I think I'd really like to be a resource for people.
Hmm.
And that happens even organically. Like, people will call me, like, they've seen my ad and they have some totally different question. They're not interested in the investment, but there's something
Hmm.
else they want to talk to me about.
Right.
Or they so I think that's wonderful. I love it. I love meeting people like that, and I love to be
Hmm.
able to provide value. And if I can connect you with someone else that does that,
Hmm.
then that's even better. We're building a stronger relationship between you
Hmm.
and I and that other person, because now we're cross referring and getting to help each other out. So
Amazing.
I think that's important to me, and I think like so other people may have something else, and I think if you don't, and we don't really always know that, right? Especially at age 20, maybe that's not so obvious. And I think
Hmm.
like my younger daughter, I think is really struggling with that. Like
Hmm.
she did a bachelor's in chemistry.
Hmm.
She didn't do any internships, or things like that. She worked in a lab, and then now she has a lab job, and she really doesn't like working in a lab. She wants to be with people and
Hmm.
interact with people. And I said,
Hmm.
well, you're going to have to, maybe leverage what you do know to
Hmm.
find other jobs in that company, or you're going to have
Right.
to get extra training, or you're going to have to like really, but she's not really sure like what it is that she wants to do.
Right.
So, it takes a little time, and that's okay.
Right.
Like
Right.
it just evolves.
Absolutely. This is the exploring stage. So this is amazing.
Hmm.
I hope she comes up with something that she likes, and now this is the time to kind of experience, like trying to experience like different ideas, talk to like different advisors, and you know
Hmm.
we try to expose them to all these different opportunities so that they can see, oh yeah, by the way, this is good. Actually, it was a good experience for me because now I can do better at this field, because sometimes these experiences we have, they just prepare you to even be better at a particular, like a totally new, like different field, but there's a relationship in a sense that the preparation or the way you do things, you have to have the mindset. This is amazing.
Hmm.
Yes, yes, awesome. So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the Doctor Investor because this is your main project at the moment. Like your
Hmm.
side project. Please talk a little bit about that. How can we, how do you? I know you talked about how the referral. You know, what else is, like so far, what has been about the program that you like, or
Yeah, so I mean, I created it. It actually happened quite organically. It wasn't really a grand scheme that I'm going to create the Doctor Investor. I wanted to invest in commercial real estate,
Mhm,
and I started working with a syndicator who asked me to raise capital, and so then he wanted us to create a meetup group, and so that's really how it happened. Like we created a meetup,
mhm,
and then that was one time, and then the next time somebody suggested, like inviting other physicians that I know.
mhm,
And so I said, okay. And so when I started doing that, it seemed very personal, like I was now like the doctor inviting other doctors,
mhm,
and I didn't want to do it just under the syndicator's umbrella or his company. I was like,
mhm,
maybe we should just, create a separate company then, and
mhm,
just to educate and
mhm.
provide resources or investment options for physicians. And so
Right.
that's how the Doctor Investor was born. And then we just did events like once a month, and that kind of got the word out. And
Mhm,
then people were reaching out to me for a variety of things, and including raising capital. And so that's what we do. And we create it fund of funds, or like we create a small fund or an LLC that's
mhm,
pooling capital and
mhm.
then investing as a limited partner into the larger fund or real estate
Okay. Okay.
project. So
Okay.
that's kind of what we started doing. And then we created the income fund really because out of my conversations with investors, a lot of them were asking for a short term investment that also provided cash flow. So we
Mhm.
didn't have that. We had these development deals that were very long,
Right.
5 to 7 years, and
Right.
great returns, great projections, a great project, but it doesn't really provide cash flow, and you do have to wait for your returns.
Mhm,
So, I talked to my fund administrator. We use a third party fund administrator, and I
mhm.
asked him because he's, been in the financial industry all this time, and he said, well, you could create something like an income fund, which
Okay.
is providing short term financing to operators
Mhm.
and can provide the 10% cash flow, ongoing to the investor at the same time. So it's a nice, happy medium. We
Mhm.
can balance or complement the development deal with the income fund, so people have the option of doing both or either.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Amazing. So, like, is there any other investment opportunities that you find that is very attractive at the moment besides that, besides what you're doing for folks that are, let's say, they're looking into, I want to invest, but I don't want to do the commercial real estate.
Oh yeah, I actually have. I've been in contact with or in communication with some oil and gas and mineral
Mm-hmm.
deeds. I think those are interesting. They're
Mm-hmm.
very unique investments and
Mm-hmm.
have very different risk profile, and also just a different fit. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they can take 1031 or things like that, which is not available in the commercial real estate syndication. So I
Mm-hmm.
do want to, build those relationships and have those offerings available to our investors as well, because again, each person has a slightly different situation.
Right.
And like great example is my own father. My dad does not want to invest in
Mm-hmm.
commercial real estate. He's like,
Right.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to wait 5 years, 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
like to get
Mm-hmm.
my returns. He wants cash flow.
Right.
And so, somebody like him could do the income fund, or they could do
Mm-hmm.
the mineral deeds, or, oil and gas or something else, perhaps to
Mm-hmm.
secure their capital and and so we're talking to him about, what would fit for him. So it's really great because it's all just organic. Like, honestly,
Hmm.
it's because people tell me that they don't like something, or they want, a specific kind of a return, or they have a specific situation, and then I go
Hmm.
looking for, well, what fits that.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah.
I meet people through my networking and they introduce me to different ideas, so it's really
Hmm.
cool.
Oh, amazing! And I'm glad that you shared how you, like your circle, they introduce you to this project where, like in the end you end up creating this big project. Now, people that are trying to find mentors, they're trying to build that relationship. What advice do you have to, in finding that? Because sometimes it's hard to find a great mentor.
Yes, it is. Yeah. um I don't know that there's really, I think, yeah, it's a trial and error. It's just like
Hmm.
everything we've talked about so far. Like,
Right, right, right.
it's a little bit of the balance, right?
Uh
Like,
huh. Right.
you got to try them out. It's just like hiring anybody. I think you
Hmm.
have to get to know them, and if they're doing something you like, if they are where you want to be,
Hmm.
then I think that could be a great mentor. Obviously
Hmm.
they'd have to be a good teacher or coach
Hmm.
and also want to take you on.
Right.
But I think that's how I would approach it, probably, is if there is someone that's doing what you want to be doing,
Hmm.
or the closest to that,
Right.
then reach out to them.
Okay. Oh,
Hmm.
this is amazing. And can you talk a little bit about philanthropy? Because sometimes, this is something that actually I always just think about it, but I haven't, I don't have any actionable plan. Like I'm talking to you right now. So I don't know if you have, some people already have those plans and actually doing things going on, like on the ground at the moment. How's your situation on that?
Yeah, I don't have an organized plan, let's say. I
Mm-hmm.
just have automatic donations, like, personally,
Mm-hmm.
and then with our
Mm-hmm.
last couple of events, we tried to start partnering with a charity.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we did it the last event, but
Tired of fads and frustration? Build sustainable wellness for life. Forget quick fixes that fail to deliver lasting results. Imagine feeling energized, moving confidently, and radiating health for years. Achieving true wellness isn't about exhaustion or deprivation. It's about building habits that fit seamlessly into your life. Invest in yourself today for lasting fitness, radiant health, and mental well-being. Ready to transform your life? Click here to learn more. By purchasing the book, you'll gain lifetime access to updates, newsletters, future editions, and exclusive wellness bonuses from the author. Start your journey to wellness now.
we did it at the March event. We tried to, partner with a charity so that we can raise funds for that charity during the event as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to get a little more organized about that through the business side, and I
Mm-hmm.
haven't really done that.
Mm-hmm.
But what else I'd say? Yeah, I don't really have a specific
Mm-hmm.
philanthropic plan through the
Okay, okay.
business, especially. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
but that's a great idea. We should do that.
Amazing, amazing.
Let me
Thank you.
know when you're doing something. We'll
Absolutely.
partner
Thank
up.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. So, I know we touched a little bit about work life integration. This is amazing. Is there any other ideas you would like to share? First, maybe I'm glad to hear you speaking about your dad and everything else. What are the great things about dad that you find that you think other dads really should have it so that they can be better, or, recreate the situation you have with him?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about my dad is his resilience.
Mm-hmm.
He came as an immigrant with very little. He built his whole
Mm-hmm.
life. He has 4 children, and they've all gone to college, and they're all, successful, productive, good
Mm-hmm.
people. So
Right.
I think that's a huge testament to his character and his efforts. And my
Mm-hmm.
mother, the same. Without them, we would never be here. We wouldn't even be in this country, much less have had the education and the opportunities we had.
Right.
Providing that safety and stability, I think, is something that we overlook, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
because I've already had it. Like, I don't really know what it's like to not have that.
Right.
So, I think that's the biggest thing that we can provide our children is a safe home where they can flourish.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Is there any maybe question that you want to ask the next dad in the podcast to
I'm not a
res-
dad, but
no, 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 like a
but I
question that
am
you
sort of. I'm like the mom and dad. So,
absolutely,
so
I'm with you. We have situations where we have single dads on the podcast as well, single moms.
yeah.
So what kind of question do you think we should ask the next guest about fatherhood? About
Mm.
parenthood. This is a better, this is a
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a
No,
better
I get it.
frame. Yes.
Gosh, the next question. That's a tough one.
Mm,
I guess what legacy do you want to leave your children?
okay. Okay.
That might be a good one.
That's a good
I don't
one.
even know
Thank
the
you.
answer to that. I'll have to think
No,
about
no,
it.
no. Absolutely. Some people they have, and I think what you're creating so far is is a great legacy because, you know, in terms of, like the generational wealth and everything else, what you're doing right now, you're impacting families because when people they do work with you and do that investments and such, they're not gonna. It's not just them that's gonna, that they're going to benefit. We also have their families that are going to
Mhm.
benefit. So
Yeah,
this
of
is
course.
so don't put your first half down. You're out there. You're doing amazing work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. It was great
Yes,
chatting with
yes,
you.
awesome,
Pleasure.
awesome. Yeah, so a huge thank you to you, and really we appreciate all the great wisdom that you shared with us, and folks, please remember, it's never too late to invest in your future, both financially, like personally, etc., and also take her advice to heart because this, we have to educate ourselves and we have to keep adjusting as we go, just like like riding a bike.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Well, like we appreciate that. And so, folks, if you have enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with your friends and family. And as always, please keep puzzling. And until next time, thank you.
Thanks so much,
Ah,
Suleiman.
thank you. Okay, this is perfect. Okay,
Did we
stop right
stop? I
there.
think we're still
Yes.
recording.